Hey guys, thanks for checking out the video. I'm Joe. This is my little channel, Random Computes. In this one, we're checking out a graphics card I paid $3 for. I ended up winning it on eBay. It was only on bidder, and it was free shipping. And I'm actually surprised I even got the card because it was shipping halfway across the United States. So shipping had to be more than what I paid for it. But here's the card. It's a GTX 260. It's not very new. Well, obviously, it's not very new, not very powerful, but $3. Let's see what we got. I'll move the camera in a little bit closer, give you guys a little bit of a close-up shot, little details of it, and then we're going to install it and see how it runs. Before we check out our graphics card, let's go over the test system specs real quick. I'm using the usual test setup, the i7-7700K, overclocked to 4.7 GHz. 32 gigabytes of DDR4 at 3000 MHz. Got the MSI Z170A motherboard, a 600 watt EVGA power supply, and everything is being ran off my 2 terabyte SSD. Let's get a look at what I got for $3 here. It's a GTX 260. It's an EVGA model. It is a blower style. It's a little bit dirty in there, but I've seen much worse. I'm hoping this one doesn't need new thermal paste or thermal pads because I don't have any of that in the hotel with me. We'll see how loud it is, I guess, if it is getting hot. It's a dual slot design, as you can see here. We do have our SLI tabs. You can do multiple GPUs. I think when you have two, it's up to 4 of them. 4 GPUs in one computer. We have 2 6-pins, and we have a SPID audio connector. Alright. A little bit of ventilation. I don't even think that has too much access to the fan. Maybe it does, but it looks blocked off from here. There's the back of the card in case anybody is wondering. Alright, and then the ports. Alright, we have 2 DVI dual links, so you can use the VGA adapters if you were wanting to do something like that. And then you have the S-Video here. That's a port that I haven't used since my PlayStation 2 was new, and I've never had a graphics card with one on there, so that's first for that, I guess. So there's a quick edit after I recorded everything. I forgot to go over the specs of the graphics card. So it was released in 2008 for $449. It's got 896 megabytes of GDDR3 VRAM. It has a GPU clock of 576 megahertz and a shader clock of 1242. It was built on the 65 nanometer architecture, and the architecture name was Tesla 2.0. Alright, sorry you can see my camera up there recording. It's pretty shiny. Alright, let's get this in a system and see how it runs. Oh, also, I won't be overclocking this graphics card. It's old. I don't want to push it too hard. Maybe a little bit after, but we'll see. Alright, this one's Batman Arkham Asylum, 1920, 1080p, very high preset, and we're hitting 60 frames per second, averaging 53. This game is not very optimized. It runs pretty poorly on a lot of different hardware. Look at that right there. I don't think that's supposed to look like that. A little bit of a glitch, but if you can deal with stupid shit like that, this isn't too bad of a game. It's worth a playthrough if you haven't tried it out. And most of the Batman Arkham series are actually a little glitchy, but they're fun to deal with. Alright, so Borderlands 3 won't run on this hardware, and that's alright. Borderlands 2 will, and that's a hell of a lot better game. We're running 1920, 1080p, and it defaulted to the highest settings. And for me to play this one, I would have to drop it down to low. Just at low, everything is locked at 60 frames per second. Alright, so now we're answering the age-old question, can it run Crysis? 1920, 1080p on medium settings. We're averaging close to 50 frames per second. When things start getting pretty heavy, it drops down to low 40s, high 30s. But overall, yeah, it can run Crysis. Duke Nukem Forever, 1920, 1080p, ultra settings, averaging well over 60 frames per second. So not terrible. Fallout New Vegas, one of the best new Fallouts they made, in my opinion at least. Getting a solid 60 frames per second on 1920 1080p with the ultra preset. I'm going to piss these guys off right here. Alright, so this one doesn't need an introduction, but I'm sure if I don't, someone's going to complain about it just to be a smart ass. So Grand Theft Auto 5, we were running 1920, 1080p on the lowest settings, which is just normal, I guess is what it's called. All the advanced settings are off, and averaging 43 frames per second. You can drop the resolution down if you want, but you get all kinds of jackies and shit if you do that. So 1080p, 40 frames per second is good enough for me. It's actually performing a lot better than I expected it would. Alright, so this one's Max Payne 3 1920, 1080p, and it's on the highest preset. I think it was very high. Need to play through this one more. I never beat it. Really good game though, but playing great on this 260. Alright, next up, Metro Last Light Redux 1920, 1080p, averaging 43 frames per second. Portal 2, 1920, 1080p, highest settings, solid 60 frames per second. Alright, this one is Prototype 2, 1920, 1080p on the lowest preset, averaging 55 frames per second. This one's Unreal Tournament. Not real sure which edition it is, just called Unreal Tournament. They've been called that since I think 2001 pretty much. But, we're averaging 53 frames per second. We do have a 0.1% of 6 frames per second. I'm not real sure where that one came from. I haven't felt any type of dips like that. This one's playable. Okay guys, I'm going to end this one here. Sorry about the delay in the videos. The next video I had planned is taking much longer than I expected due to some complications in the build, but we'll get to it eventually. Alright, so as far as the GTX 260 goes, should you buy one in 2022? I wouldn't unless you can really get a good deal like the one I did on mine. It's more powerful than the integrated graphics on the i7, but it can't run newer games like the HD 630 could, since it's so old and has the API limitations. If you wanted to play older games on the cheap, then it's not the worst you can do, but you're better off with anything newer if you're wanting to play new games. Something else, even if it's less powerful but can support the newer APIs. There'll be a couple of videos to the left and to the right. If you're interested in those, check those out. If you liked the video, hit the like, and of course if you hated it, you know what button to hit. If you like this kind of stuff and would like to see more, subscribe and hit that bell. Alright guys, have fun.